you mentioned going to work for Bill Davis. What did they put you on as soon as you got there?
Bill Davis had a great program, and I will tell you straight up, that was the most fun that I've ever had in my life working on a race team, because it was only 5 or 6 of us, and we did everything. I think we had 3 cars, but we only used 2 of them. But they immediately put me on trying to get the chassis sorted out, because they had a really good motor program. They had a good body program. They'd been sharing a shop with Mark Martin, the number 60 car, the Winn-Dixie car. And but Jeff's cars were, I guess they were BSR cars. Billy Hess built them cars at that time. And when I went there, I said, well, where's this at? Where's that at? And, they were good cars, but they hadn't really squared them up, and they hadn't really gone through the bump and whatnot. And I knew a little bit about that stuff, how important it was from working at IROC. And I just started to get the front ends right, and I came up with a combination that Jeff really liked. And then we just worked on making both cars the same. And, probably the biggest thing I learned at Bill Davis, though, is no matter how good your chassis is, you still got to have a good motor and a good driver because, you got those 2 things. Those other cars are a lot easier to pass.
When was the moment when you realized that Jeff had the talent?
Oh, man. Jeff and I met in 1990. Andy Petrie called me up and he said, hey, Leo Jackson's son-in-law is going to run this deal, run this guy. I need you to come down here and help. I don't have time to do it. And I was like, man, I'm trying to race and all. I said, who's the kid? He said, Jeff Gordon. And I had just seen Jeff Gordon, like on Thursday Night Thunder or whatever, run smack over some guy, run smack over him, go down the straightaway on 2 wheels and still win the race. I was like, man, I got to go see if this kid's legit. So Jeff and I met at a hotel in Charlotte right before this test deal. And I really liked them. I liked, from talking to all those guys, I talked about IROC, I think to myself, man, this kid's 17, 18 years old, and he really talks about the car like he should be. And then we went to Charlotte the next day for a Grand National test, and Davey was there, and Chuck Bound, a lot of good guys, and we had a Buck Baker school car, and with a V6 Chevy in it, right? So we didn't have a Buick motor or anything back then. And Jeff went out. I think we put Chuck Bound in it first, shake it down, make sure it was all right. Jeff goes out in it, and I got to tell you the story. I go up on top of the truck. Jeff gets in the car, and he starts waving to me. Come down. I'm like, what? And he's waving. He didn't want to say it on the radio. So he's waving. He says, hey, how do I start this? Because he used to get in there and push them off, right? And I'm like, wait a minute. He's like, yeah, what? So went through. I said, now you do. I said, you do drive a clutch, right? He's like, oh yeah. It's the same as on the column, but on the floor, right? I was like, yeah, you're good, man. Well, he went out there, and I'm gonna tell you, in 3-4 laps, he is just sailing. I mean, over the bumps, down into one, just sailing, boom, right on the board. Probably top 5 at that time. And he comes off of 3 and 4 there. He gets a little bit low, maybe gets the apron, gets that bump, and man, that thing just sideways, brings all the way out to the wall, almost the wall, down into the little quad oval there. I hit the button on the radio. I said, hey, man, you all right? He's like, yeah, why? I'm like, hey, why don't you come in here and let's talk? I said, hey, look, you can't do that much with a stock car. I get it. Your sprint car, you can slide. I said, but, you'll turn that thing around. He said, oh, wow, I'm sorry, man. I didn't even realize I was that sideways.
That's awesome. So, you guys got together, and how does the move to Hendrick happen? You get, are you immediate? How does that happen? Do you get a phone call? Is Jeff telling you what's going on?
Well, Jeff got the phone call. And see, when we went, our first win at Atlanta, with the first few laps on tires, we were really loose. And Rick Hendrick was watching it, and he sees this number 1 Baby Ruth car go just smoking the right rear and passes Mark Martin. He's like, man, who's that guy? He's going to wreck. I'm going to watch this. We go on, win the race. And Andy Graves worked at the 5 car at that time. And Andy said, Rick had said something around the 5 car, and Andy said, well, that guy lives with me, and he doesn't really have a set contract for next year. So they called Jeff, and they talked to him, and Jeff said, look, Rick Hendrick called me, and I was like, man, that's pretty big right there. Like those guys have got everything. He said, I want you to go over and look at that place and tell me if you think that, we can win there. And I'm going to tell you, I went onto that complex, and there used to be a team manager there his name was Jimmy Johnson too.
Yep.
Jim Johnson, right? So he showed me around, and I looked at everything they had. I went back to Jeff. I said, look, if we can't take the stuff that man has and win, we can't win anywhere, because they have everything they need. I don't know why they're not winning, but I'm telling you, everything we need to win races and championships is there. So Jeff accepted that deal with Rick, and he said, hey, look, I want Ray to come, and I want Ray to be my crew chief. And I didn't want to be the crew chief. I was like, I don't have any experience to be a crew chief. I'm the chassis guy. I'll set the chassis up. And Rick, Rick Hendrick is such a funny guy. He said, well, nope. Jeff wants you to be the crew chief, and that's the only job we got. Take it or leave it. You're a crew chief.
Oh my God. So Jeff, at this point, in it just has so much trust in you and y'all's relationship that you're sort of you're the guy that's scouting this out.
Yeah, he sent me there to really look. Jeff's stepdad, John Bickford,
yep,
really gave Jeff, a lot of confidence, and Jeff's got a lot of confidence in John, and John always had a lot of confidence in me. And I think that helped ease Jeff's mind of whether or not we were trying to do the right thing or whatever. And I don't have to tell you, you get with certain people that you're just, you're okay apart, but the two of you are like make a whole better, like stronger than you both could be. And Jeff and I have always been like that. And we're still like that on the projects that we are today. There's just something that, we've got the pieces that fit. And when I said, man, we can do this, he never questioned it or whatever, and he put himself out there, and he took a lot of, bad press, and, people complaining he was leaving Ford and all that. But the truth be told, he did not really have a contract for the next year with Ford. And we actually went and saw some Ford teams, and the Ford team said, no, they didn't, that you didn't. One of the Ford teams told him, look, you don't choose your crew chief. We choose your crew chief. We'll take you, but we're not taking him. And I was okay with that, because Jeff was the star. I'd have just stayed at Bill's, but Jeff said, no, I'm, Ray's with me. And I, to this day, I believe that's one of the reasons he chose to walk away from Ford and to go to Hendrick, because Rick Hendrick welcomed me with open arms.
Wow. So in the first year, all right, so you aren't even a crew chief, and you get hired to go be the crew chief for Jeff Gordon. In that first year, I don't know why I retained this stat, and it may be incorrect, but I think Jeff bent 22 clips or something.
It's about that. Yeah, it was. We killed 2 or 3 cars completely, and I can't remember, but I think it's about that number, front and rear.
Maybe it was ball joints. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't clips. Maybe it was ball joints, but I'm not sure. But I remember,
no, it was clips. It was snouts and rear clips.
So going through that first year, we even today, I think, whether it in any sport, we really want to see that rookie star, produce right away, right? And in racing, look at like Joe Logano is a great example. Guy come in, everybody put so much praise on him, rightly so, very talented. But it took the right combination. It took a while for things to happen. I feel the same thing has happened with guys like William Byron. I think William is a true talent. It's just going to be a while before he really can produce what he's so young. Look at the guys that are winning in the series now in their 30s and 40s. So when you're going through that experience with Jeff, you obviously know what Jeff can do, but maybe you're only one of the few people in the building. And yes, there's good runs and success, and you're seeing the glimpse of the future. But was there any point, I guess, in the season when anyone was sort of like going, man, is he gonna get this thing where he can, keep the wheels on it?
I think it's a little bit of a different world back then. So in some ways, we probably had it a little bit easier on us than maybe William Byron or some of these younger guys have now, because the expectation was a little bit different. A lot of guys, like you said, the guys winning now in their 30s and 40s. Well, hell, back then the guys that were winning were in their 40s and 50s, and everybody kind of knew you had to build up that 20-year notebook before you could be a top driver. And I think that people could see the talent that he had, and knew that sooner or later he was going to get a notebook on the tracks and he was going to figure this out. And more importantly, I was going to figure it out, because you had a rookie driver, but you also had a really rookie crew chief, right? I only been working on a car with fenders for a little while, and I felt personally like everything worked out good in the end, because I think us both starting so young when we learned together. But had Jeff had a more experienced crew chief, he might have won earlier in his first year. Even though we did win the first race for Rick, I think, or first race at Daytona. But there were some mistakes I made as well, building the cars. And
like what? What kind of mistakes?
I think that I wasn't sharp enough with aerodynamics at first. It took me really a year or so to understand how much effect that really had. I think some of my race strategy stuff, I had to learn, because back then, without all the computers and out all the this and simulation and that, you had a notebook, and it was like playing a multi-level chess game. You're playing over here, and there were times I got playing these two guys, and darn if we didn't get beat by this guy over here because he had a different strategy. So I think that all of us growing together, and about the time we hit our stride, we won the Coke 600. We won that on a 2-tire deal, and that was great in '94. But then we went to Indy when in the Brickyard 400 in '94, the playing field was pretty level because nobody had a notebook, and we went there and won that. And then we're okay, we can run with these guys, and that built a lot of confidence. But I do feel like Jeff had a more experienced crew chief, he might have won earlier, but I'm not sure he would have won as much as we did later.
Right.